Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Friday, Valentine's Day.
It's in a couple days.
It is?
Yeah, Monday.
Happy almost Valentine's Day.
Yeah. I got my pink on.
Beautiful.
We got little pink lights in the background.
You're ready to go.
I'm so festively annoying.
Yes. I think
Like
Mark,
all the time.
I think Pastor Mark would agree with you.
Yes. So
yes.
all next month for March,
Yes.
you won't be able to see me. Because I'll just have green on and I'll fade into the background.
That's right. We'll be fine summer.
Congratulations.
Every show will be fine summer.
Everyone, you won't have to deal with me. Well, you'll see my floating head, I guess. Unless I paint myself.
Follow the talking head. Yes. All right. Are you ready?
Yes.
Mark chapter 5.
I'm freezing cold.
This is what you keep saysaying.
Should have wore a turtleneck.
If I talk a lot, maybe it'll warm up the room.
Hot air coming my way.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Where are we at? 5 what? 21?
21.
All right, Mark 5:21.
Yep.
And when Jesus was passed over again, man, moves around a lot. By ship unto the other side, much people gathered unto him, and he was nigh unto the sea. And behold, there cometh one of the rulers of the synagogue, Jairus. Did I say that right? Why did my brain just break? Like, I already know that.
Probably
You know
you're about
why?
ready to get stuck.
No, because my Bible splits up, like, it's just so dumb. By name. And when he saw him, he fell at his feet. We're not going to get stuck there. And besought him, we talked about that already. Besought him greatly, saying, My little daughter lieth at the point of death. I pray thee, come and lay thy hands on her, that she may be healed, and she shall live. And Jesus went with him, and much people followed him, and thronged him. And a certain woman which had an issue of blood 12 years, and had suffered many things and many physicians, and had spent all that she had, and was nothing bettered, but rather grew worse. When she had heard of Jesus, came in the press behind and touched his garment. For she said, If I may touch but his clothes, I shall be whole. And straightway the fountain of her blood was dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of that plague. Am I stopping?
Nope, keep going.
Oh, wow. I don't know. You look like you're going to explode.
I am, because I wanted to talk about this entire thing, and you said we're not getting stuck there. So
No, I meant earlier.
I know.
We can stop.
Stuck there and there and there and there and there.
And straightway, fountain of her blood was healed, blah, blah, blah. Jesus, immediately, knowing in himself that virtue had gone out of him, turned him about in the press and said, Who touched my clothes? And his disciples said unto him, Thou seest the multitude thronging thee, and you say, Who touched me? So sarcastic, aren't they? Oh my gosh. And his disciples said unto him, why am I rereading everything? And he looked round about to see her that had done this thing. But the woman, fearing and trembling, knowing what was done in her, came and fell down before him and told him all the truth. And he said unto her, Daughter, thy faith has made thee whole. Go in peace and be whole of thy plague.
What an awesome story. But first of all, you go back to the beginning part of the story, and all I want to say is the guy came, and where did he throw himself?
At his feet.
At the feet of Jesus. And then what did he do?
Begged.
He begged
God.
Jesus, right? He begged God to help him. And again,
Besought him greatly.
when we throw ourselves at the feet of Jesus and we beg him to help us, Jesus says, yep, no, can't do that.
No.
No. What's it say? All it says is that, and Jesus followed him. Like, check this out. No big discussion. No big, like, hey, whatever. We throw ourselves at the feet of Jesus. We beg him to help us. And Jesus does. But here's what we're going to find out in this story, is that we have to have a lot of faith, right? Because just because Jesus comes with us doesn't mean he's going to do it the way that we...
Well, I was going to say, the conversation comes later.
It does.
It doesn't, when we say it like that, it's like a little too simple for people. Like, because everyone is, I've done that!
But that's all we need to
I've
get
done it.
Jesus, right?
I've done it.
All we need to get Jesus is to throw ourselves at his feet and implore him to help us. Right?
So, what does that look like?
Normally I ask the questions. Right? What does that
look like?
What
Because,
does that look like?
Everyone would say they've done that. Oh, I've done that. I begged God. I begged God. Okay, well, Jesus isn't standing in front of you anymore. He's not a living, breathing body like we see in normal. So how do we now actually throw ourselves at the feet of Jesus?
I love it because we get two examples of this, right? Two totally different examples. The first one is the rich synagogue ruler who would have had access to the same healers, the same doctors that this woman had gone to, right? Would have had access to everything that woman would have. So most likely he had checked all of that out first, right? Out of desperation, what does he do? He comes, throws himself at the feet of Jesus, right? Which, imagine, what an unbelievable show of humility, right? All the other religious rulers, not all of them, most of the other religious rulers and people, what are they doing? They're judging Jesus. They're trying to figure out how to kill him. They're trying to figure out all these other things. What does this guy do? He humbles himself, throws himself at the feet of Jesus and implores him, begs him, right? Please come with me. You can heal my daughter. You can do this, right? It's an acknowledgement of who he is. It's an acknowledgement of what he can do. It's an acknowledgement of his power, his authority. It's an acknowledgement of all those things. Think of how many people in our lives, maybe not you and I, because we don't, have these problems, but think of how many people throw ourselves at the feet of Jesus rarely, right? And even if we do get ourselves to the feet of Jesus, we refuse to acknowledge that Jesus is the only way and he can do this in his power and his authority. We just want the problem taken care of. So we don't unceremoniously dump ourselves at the feet of Jesus. We ceremoniously put ourselves at the feet of Jesus, right? It's a show. We go up front, we ask people to pray for us, we make a big deal about it, we want people to know that we're mourning, we want people to know that we're hurting, we want people to know that we need something, and then we do this big huge thing and we think God is going to react this way.
Well, that's what I'm asking. How do we actually do this? How do you actually now 2022 how do you actually follow the feet of Jesus?
Fantastic. So
For real.
All right, so in the story that we went through last week, we have a demon-possessed man who the second Jesus gets off the boat is boom, right there, right? Now we got the flip side of this. We got the religious leader who he's there, right? So I think the number one thing is we need to understand it doesn't matter who we are, it doesn't matter where we've been, it doesn't matter what we're going through, what we've gone through. It doesn't matter any of that stuff. We have to have a sense of desperation for Jesus. Right? So we have to look at our problem and we need to say, the only one who can solve this, the only one who can take care of this is Jesus. Until you get to that point, you're never going to get it right because you're always going to think it's Jesus and my work, Jesus and me doing this. It's Jesus and my brains. It's Jesus. And that makes sense to us humanly, right? It makes sense that it would be Jesus and me, right? I got to go to the doctor and then Jesus will do what he wants. I've got to eat differently and then Jesus will do what he wants. I've got to talk to, it's always our work associated with Jesus. And these are guys that nothing could fix this. So desperation, true, unabated, whatever that word is, right? I only make up words. I don't do words that are real.
I don't do real
words. Unfiltered, uncensored, all the other unwords. Man, a desperation. Lord, I absolutely, positively want this. I need you to do this for me, right? And we put ourselves in that position before Jesus, right? I think that's important, right? That we come before him and we do that with that heart, with that humility. It doesn't matter who's around. So again, we all want to do it in private so nobody knows. We want to do it. No, you know what? Part of the deal is this guy did this in front of a whole group of people, right? He did this, and that's part of humility. Humility is I am so desperate for you, God, that I'm willing to do it anytime. I don't care. I just need this. I don't care who knows. I don't care who knows about this moment. I'm that desperate. I'm that hurting. I'm going to cry, make a fool out of myself, do whatever I need to do to get to Jesus, right? And we've washed all of that away on Sunday mornings and we make it this super sterile, goofy moment. But the deal is, if you're in minute 1 of your church service and you're that desperate for Jesus, you better be throwing yourself at the front of the church, right? Crying in your pew, right? Doing whatever you have to do to get you. Do not wait until the pastor says stop. Don't wait till the pastor says.
I'm not waiting until Sunday.
Anybody has. I'm just using that as an example,
yeah.
right? But right, the key is I mean, you should not be waiting till Sunday. Right? The difference is this guy had to find Jesus. Literally had to physically find him. We don't have to do that. We don't have to do
Maybe
that.
that's our problem.
We have him. We have access to him. But I think that is our problem. I think we just assume that it's all going to be...
We just take him for granted.
Yeah, we just take him for granted. But I think we have to want it that badly somewhere. I think we have to want healing that badly that we're willing to...
Well, after 12 years of trying to do it ourselves.
Right. So the first guy, he does it that way. Throws himself at Jesus' feet. The woman, she does it totally differently. But gets the same thing in a totally different way. She gets immediate healing. Why? Because she outright declares, I just need to touch him. That is declaring his authority. That's declaring his power. That's declaring who he is. And she sought him out, just like this guy. The difference is she didn't throw herself at his feet, but she still made him Lord of her life. She still acknowledged he's the only one that can do that. Why? Out of desperation. Why? Because she had tried everything. Everything. Imagine being a woman who every day of your life is walking around unclean. This is still the time frame where you're unclean. Unclean, 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 unclean.
Yeah.
To be in this crowd, she's unclean. She should never have been there. Yeah. Never, ever, ever. The synagogue ruler should have never been there. And neither should this lady. They should never have been anywhere near Jesus. But they did. They did. The difference is, and I give this lady credit from the standpoint, I'm just going to say that she knew she was unclean. She still touched him, but she didn't make a big deal about it in front of other people.
No, she didn't.
But she knew that she was unclean and she needed Jesus.
She knew it had to be between him and her.
That's exactly right. Right? And it was. It was. But Jesus knew that too, because what does Jesus do? Like you brought it up when you said it. What an incredible series of events this is. First, I want to go back and let me ask you a question.
Okay.
So that maybe you could do talking. This won't be equal talking, but maybe you could do some for me.
What?
There are lots of times when we're on mission for God or with God. We got Jesus with us. We're dialed in. We're going to go save Jairus' daughter, man. That's where we're going. And then it gets interrupted. Mm-hmm. Then it gets interrupted. Like this is an interruption, right? Jairus got Jesus by the hand, grabbing. They're walking. They're going to Jairus' house. He's like, whoa, swoosh, and then Jesus gets interrupted. What happens when we're on mission for God and we get interrupted?
What do you mean?
Meaning,
well, you.
How well do we take that?
We don't. Mm-hmm. No, you didn't say if Jairus was throwing a tantrum.
Does it?
He was probably like, "Oh my gosh, really? Wait your turn."
And we're gonna get to that part of the story, right? We're gonna get to the part of the story where that comes out.
Yeah, no, we don't. Well, we just think it couldn't possibly be a God thing interrupting a God thing. Like,
gosh, I love how you just said that.
God would never interrupt himself. Or that wasn't the plan to begin with. Or the path taking you to the God thing just happened to have 12 stops of other God things. Because we only hear about the one thing, or we know about the one thing, and that's just, it's ignorant, it's nearsighted.
So have you ever been stopping by the store to get something for the visit you need to go make, mm-hmm. and get waylaid at the store?
Yeah.
And go, wait a second, this must be from the enemy because he's keeping me from my visit.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I told you the first time I came down here, I went through a series of events just to get onto the thruway. Then I was like, is this God telling me don't go? Yep. Or is this the enemy trying to stop me from going?
Yep.
Right? It was literally like 5 things in a row. And I was like, it was so obvious that it was something that I couldn't ignore it.
Right.
But I'm just like, no, not gonna work. Like, some things are the enemy and some things aren't. Like, hence, just being in tune with the Holy Spirit, and like praying and pausing and not reacting, and like asking God, like, okay, what's this all about? Like, like, the world's not going to end if you take a second, and just pray.
Well, I think, again, I love how we are under this impression that God would never interrupt what God is doing. So on a Sunday morning, right? We've got a service all planned out. Boop, 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 boop. God would never interrupt his service.
That's not his service.
But God would always interrupt his service. The problem is it's not his service. It's
Right,
exactly
it's not
what
his
you
service.
just said. Yes.
You just said, we have a plan. Boom, boom, boom. That's
Yep.
not God's service.
No.
God should come in and interrupt that.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not his.
Exactly. So we need to, again, not everything that we do is godly. Some things are just good. So is it possible that me going to visit somebody that I want to visit for the reason I want to visit them is a good visit, and then something happens godly on the way to that?
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Like, it's amazing to me that we look at this and that we say, hey, I'm not so sure that this is all a God thing, right? I'm not sure that God would interrupt this whole thing.
Well, God interrupted himself on this.
He did interrupt himself on this, right?
I mean, Jesus was walking there.
He was. So he's on his way.
It's not like Jesus was doing a good thing, not a God thing. Right? It was Jesus doing it, so I'm pretty sure it was a God thing.
It was a God, because Jesus said, I can only do what my Father tells me to do.
Right. So
Right.
Jesus was doing it, and then got interrupted by another Jesus thing.
He
so
did. Right? And again, Jesus just
didn't stop him
follows
from
Jairus.
going.
Right, like you said earlier, he doesn't sit and have a conversation with Jairus about what's going to happen and all this stuff. He just follows Jairus, right? He just goes. But how cool is it that in the middle of a humongous crowd, so closely pressed that the disciples, as you well put, sarcastically say, hey, how do
Oh
you
my
know who's
gosh.
touching you? Look at the crowd.
Yeah, what a bunch of brats.
Isn't it reassuring for us to know that, yeah, Jesus knows. Jesus in a whole crowd
Of course
people.
he knows.
Right, while we're sitting, whether it's just you and I, whether it's you and I in a church full of people, right? We're sitting and God says, I know, I see you. I see your hurt, I see your pain, I see your tears, I see your joy, I see your happiness, I see whatever it is, I see you in a crowd of people. Right? But isn't it funny that we tend to want to be in a crowd of people to hide?
Can't hide from God.
You can't. You can't hide from God. This woman, she had no intentions of hiding from God.
No.
She had no, her intention was not to draw to herself. Right? Again, she touches Jesus, throws herself at his feet like that. Everybody there is unclean. Like it is a crazy thing when you really look at what this woman did. Right? She's an unclean person willing to put all of this, like all the clean people, throw them out and get to Jesus. How often do we see that in church? How often do we see that in ministry where unclean people who just need Jesus are willing to say, I'm willing to get through all these people to get to Jesus.
Get out of my way.
Right? Get to get to him and to touch him, right? And again, these people, the disciples, they give Jesus like, hey, don't worry about who touched you. But Jesus, I love it because it says in verse 32, he looked around to see who. There you go. Just in case you missed the who word there.
Mine says her.
Who had done it? Right? He looked around to see who had done it. Jesus, he's finding people, man. He's finding people in a group of people. Like who? The who matters. Right? Why she did it, we're focusing on all this stuff. But all Jesus focused in on was who? Like, I need you. She'd already been healed. She was immediately healed, it said. Immediately, she knew she was healed. How crazy is that? She knew it. Doesn't say that her it says that the bleeding dried up, but it doesn't tell us how she knew it. She just knew it. Right? And Jesus, he needs to find her. Right? He needs to talk to her. And what he says to her is crazy. Mm-hmm. Right? Again, look at what it says there when it says, but the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came in fear and trembling. Now she's been healed. Now she can come to Jesus, right? And she does what? She fell down before him and told him the whole truth. Same position as Jairus, right? Same exact position, only this time the healing happened first.
Right.
And then her response is this, right? And notice what he says to her, daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your disease. It's so funny because it gives me the reason to go, was she temporarily healed?
Until she answered.
Until she gave Jesus and God the glory until she answered. Was she just waiting? Was the healing waiting to really be manifested fully because she needed to say publicly? Hey, she needed to acknowledge publicly. She needed to acknowledge to Jesus, this is what happened. Was there a connection there? Is there a connection between, was it temporary in nature until Jesus pointed out, no, your faith has made you healed?
That's a scary thought.
What do you mean?
It's a scary thought to think that that's a possibility, that we could mess it up, that we could undo it with our faith or with our stealing of glory.
I think it's something that we need to just, like, we need to be aware, right? Saul lost the kingdom because he stole God's glory.
Right. So why not with a healing?
Why not with a healing, right? Ananias and Sapphira stole some of God's glory. That's really what they did. They lied, but they stole. They tried to make themselves bigger than God. Like rather than just saying, I have a right to this money, they have like, oh, we're giving it all to God, and that's them getting glory for something they didn't do. Right? But this woman, she falls at Jesus' feet after she's healed. She could have walked away. She could have ran away like the 10 lepers. 9 of them just walked away. She could have done all of that, but she didn't. Instead, what does she do? She falls down and acknowledges the whole truth.
Right.
Here's the deal. Man, we don't even know what the whole truth was. We don't know why she was bleeding. Maybe she had lived some kind of a lifestyle, whatever.
Probably.
She just acknowledged the whole truth. And Jesus looked and said, you're healed. Man, you're healed. Why? Because of your faith. You were right. Just touch me. That's all you needed. Just touch me, right? Just touch me, and it's going to be okay. But what I want is, I want the glory for this moment, right? How fantastic is that?
I love it.
Beautiful. Well, listen, I don't even know what time it is, but that is enough for now because the rest of the story is going to take up another date.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
Beautiful. Wrap it up, 80s lady.
80s lady?
Oh, makes me want to sing a song.
Like what?
Can't tell you. Sorry.
Well, all right then. People. Friday people.
Friday peoplers.
Not Sapling.
Another purple people eater. There's another great people song.
I was a purple people eater one year for Halloween.
Were you really?
Yeah. It was the coolest costume ever.
So stay tuned next week where we will recreate that moment. Summer will come in as a purple people eater. That will be fantastic. You're going to want to pay attention to this.
Yeah, we're going to skip from Valentine's to Halloween.
There you go.
Real quick.
Well done.
Just find Jesus, guys. Fall at his feet and beg him. Don't make it a show. Don't do it in secret. Just do it when you need to do it. Doesn't matter who's around or what's going on. Just beg him to save you. That's all. We love you guys. Have a great Friday night with Jesus and whoever you're with. We'll see you next week.